Have you ever been told you're intimidating, only to feel incredibly sensitive on the inside? Or that you live in the future, while you're busy planning every detail of the present? Have you ever felt like a walking contradiction, an enigma even to yourself? If you're nodding your head, you are likely an INTJ, and you're not alone in your complexity. You're part of the personality type often called the architect or the mastermind, a strategic thinker who's both brilliantly imaginative and powerfully logical. But those labels, as cool as they sound, only scratch the surface of what makes the INTJ one of the most compelling and misunderstood personality types. The INTJ mind is a maze of surprising paradoxes. It's a place where massive ambition coexists with an intense need for privacy, where a cool, logical exterior hides a world of deep, unshakable values, and where soaring idealism is chained to a heavy anchor of cynicism. Others see the calculated moves and reserved demeanor and paint a picture of someone cold, aloof, or arrogant, but they're only seeing the fortress walls. They have no idea of the vibrant kingdom that lies within. So, let's go inside. We're about to peel back the layers of the INTJ's logical exterior to reveal the powerful contradictions hiding in plain sight and explore the cognitive functions that make this personality so mysteriously complex. Let's start with the big one: the canyon between an INTJ's monumental ambition and their profound need for privacy. An INTJ without a goal is like a ship without a rudder. They are driven by a deep need to understand, to build, to improve, and to leave a mark on the world. Their minds constantly scan the horizon for opportunities, not for personal glory, but for a chance to make things work better. They want to create a smarter system, a more efficient process, a more elegant design. This isn't just a whim, it's the very engine of their being, and this ambition is often huge. INTJ don't just want to climb the corporate ladder. They want to redesign the ladder and the entire building it's in. They are true visionaries, thanks to their dominant cognitive function, Introverted Intuition, NI. NI lets them see the world not as random facts, but as a web of patterns and trajectories. They can absorb tons of complex information and synthesize it into a single, elegant vision of the future. They see the endgame years before anyone else has even made the first move. And yet, for all this world-shaping drive, the INTJ is one of the most private and reserved people you'll ever meet. While other ambitious types might broadcast their goals and network relentlessly, the INTJ operates in stealth mode. They hold their grand plans close, working tirelessly in the quiet of their own minds. To the outside world, they might seem passive or disengaged, but internally, they're building empires and running countless simulations of future events. This intense privacy makes their ambition seem mysterious. People see the results: the sudden promotion, the groundbreaking project, the flawless plan that appears out of nowhere. But they rarely see the thousands of hours of silent, solitary work that made it happen. So why the secrecy? First, their inner world is sacred. It's where their ideas are born and refined. Exposing a half-formed idea to the world feels like a violation, like showing someone the messy first draft of a novel. The INTJ prefers to pressure test their own ideas against every possible failure before they're ready for the outside world. Their internal quality control is tougher than any external critic. Second, INTJ know how easily a brilliant vision can be ruined by outside interference. They understand that most people don't think in the same long-term, systematic way they do. They worry that sharing plans too early will invite misunderstanding and unhelpful advice that could corrupt their vision. They'd rather build the entire thing in private and unveil it when it's perfect and unassailable. Think of it like a master watchmaker. They don't assemble a complex timepiece in a bustling marketplace. They retreat to their quiet workshop, with perfect lighting and every tool in its place. They work for months, or even years, with total focus. Only when the final piece is polished and ticking perfectly do they present it to the world. Their privacy isn't a sign of insecurity. It's the greenhouse their genius needs to grow. This leads us to the second great INTJ paradox, the combination of a deeply imaginative mind with a ruthlessly practical nature. Most people are either dreamers, who live in a world of ideas but struggle to make them real, or doers, who are great at getting things done but might lack a guiding vision. The INTJ is the rare person who has mastered both. This duality comes from the powerful team-up of their top two cognitive functions, Introverted Intuition, NI, and Extroverted Thinking, TE. We've touched on NI. It's the source of their visionary power. It's a deep, unconscious pattern recognition machine. The INTJ's mind is constantly absorbing data, but instead of taking it at face value, NI works in the background, connecting the dots into one big picture. It's always asking, what does this all mean? Where is this all going? This is why INTJ get those famous aha moments, where an insight seems to appear out of thin air. It's not magic. It's their NI finally finishing a complex calculation and delivering the answer. This function lets them see the world as a grand chessboard, understanding the deep strategy of the game instead of just the next move. But an INTJ isn't happy to just live in that world of ideas. That's where their second function, extroverted thinking, TE, comes in. It's the bridge from vision to reality. If NI is the architect, TE is the master builder and project manager. TE is obsessed with logic, efficiency, and order in the outside world. It takes the abstract vision from NI and asks a simple, powerful question. Okay, how do we actually do this? TE breaks the grand vision into logical steps, measurable goals, and actionable plans. It organizes resources, sets timelines, and builds systems to get the job done with maximum efficiency. It is decisive, objective, and unsentimental. TE is what drives the INTJ to create order from chaos and turn their imaginative concepts into real-world results. It's why INTJs aren't just philosophers. They're often engineers, scientists, and founders. This NITE combo is the engine of their effectiveness. They can soar into the clouds of abstraction one moment, and in the next, create a detailed spreadsheet to optimize their workflow. This ability to jump between the why and the how is a rare gift, but it can be confusing for others. People who see the INTJ's imaginative side might be shocked by their blunt, results-oriented pragmatism. And those who only see their decisive, action-focused side may have no clue about the rich, complex inner world that's driving it all. Spend enough time with an INTJ, and you'll run into another deep contradiction: the constant dance between their profound idealism and their biting cynicism. They are somehow both hopeful architects of a better world and skeptical critics of the one they live in. This paradox is both their greatest motivation and their deepest frustration. The idealism of an INTJ isn't soft or sentimental. It's a hard-edged, intellectual idealism built on a belief in potential, specifically the potential of smart systems and strategies to solve almost any problem. When an INTJ looks at a flawed company or a broken system, they don't just see the mess. Their minds instinctively start to re-engineer it. Their intuition sees the elegant, optimized version that could exist, a future where logic wins and incompetence is eliminated. This idealism is the fire behind their ambition. They believe, almost with a religious fervor, that if people would just think more clearly and act more logically, the world could be a vastly better place. They hold a blueprint for a utopia built on reason, championing ideas that seem radical or impossible to others, simply because they can see the logical path to get there. And then, there's the cynicism. Just as their idealism is born from seeing the potential in systems, their cynicism is born from observing the reality of the people within them. While the INTJ's mind is a realm of logic and order, they look out at the world and see chaos, irrationality, and a frustrating habit of ignoring long-term consequences. Their logical side is frustrated by the inefficiency, and their inner values are quietly offended by the lack of integrity. So the INTJ becomes cynical. They get cynical about office politics, social rituals, and bureaucratic red tape, seeing them as idiotic roadblocks to progress. This cynicism isn't born of malice, it's born of disappointment. It's the logical conclusion they reach after watching the gap between what's possible and what people are actually willing to do. This creates a constant internal tug-of-war. One part of them is the hopeful idealist, drawing up plans for a perfect world. The other is the jaded realist, muttering that it's pointless because people will just mess it up. This can make them seem critical or judgmental, as they're constantly comparing flawed reality to their internal blueprint. But it can also be a powerful motivator. Their cynicism about the present fuels their idealistic drive to build a different future. They are the ultimate disgruntled optimists, forever disappointed with today, yet unable to stop trying to build a better tomorrow. Now we get to the most common stereotype about the INTJ, that they are unfeeling, cold, and robotic. It's an understandable mistake. INTJ lead with logic. They prioritize objective truth over subjective feelings, and they can seem detached and analytical. Their external personality is governed by that practical, get-it-done function, extroverted thinking, TE. When faced with a problem, their first instinct isn't to comfort, but to analyze and solve. To an outsider, this can easily look like a total lack of emotion, but that's a profound misunderstanding. The truth isn't that INTJ lack emotion. It's that their emotional world is deep, private, and runs on a completely different operating system. This is the world of their tertiary cognitive function, introverted feeling, FI. FI is a deeply personal, internal compass of values and emotions. It's focused on authenticity, integrity, and what feels right to the individual on a soul-deep level. For an INTJ, FI is the quiet judge and jury for everything they do. While their other functions are building the strategy, FI is in the background asking, is this right? Does this align with my core principles? Is this authentic? Because FI is introverted, these powerful emotions and values are almost never shown on the outside. An INTJ's feelings are a private treasure, shown only to a select few who have earned their absolute trust, and sometimes, not even then. They feel things with surprising intensity, but they process it all internally. A deep disappointment or a searing anger might be raging inside an INTJ, while their face remains a mask of calm neutrality. It's not a lie. It's just their nature. This hidden emotional depth explains so much. It explains why an INTJ who seems detached can suddenly become fiercely passionate when one of their core values is violated. You can question their strategy, and they'll logically debate it. But if you question their integrity, you've crossed a line and triggered a powerful FI-driven response. That's when the cold exterior cracks, revealing the molten core of conviction underneath. It also explains why they can be awkward in emotional situations. When a friend is upset, the INTJ's instinct is to offer a logical solution to fix the problem. They show they care by trying to help in a practical way. But the friend might just be looking for empathy and validation, an emotional connection the INTJ struggles to provide on the outside. It's not that they don't care. It's that their language of care is problem-solving, not overt affirmation. The INTJ isn't a robot. They're a deeply feeling person who simply encases their heart in a formidable shell of logic. If you've ever argued with an INTJ, you've probably hit what feels like a brick wall of stubbornness. Once they've analyzed a situation and reached a conclusion, they hold on to it with a conviction that's both impressive and infuriating. They present their case with a logical force that feels unshakable, dismantling counter-arguments before they're even fully formed. This has earned them a reputation for being rigid and close-minded, but that's only half the story. The paradox is why they have this conviction. The INTJ isn't attached to their conclusion because it's theirs. They aren't defending their ego. They are attached to the process that got them there. Their conviction comes from knowing they followed a rigorous, logical path. In their mind, they've run the simulations, connected the dots, and arrived at the most sound outcome. Their stubbornness is a defense of what they see as objective truth. And here's where the surprise comes in. For all their apparent rigidity, INTJ are remarkably open to changing their minds. But there's one critical condition. You have to beat their logic with better logic. If you can present an argument that's more coherent, more complete, or based on new data they hadn't considered, the INTJ won't just begrudgingly agree. They will actively, and often enthusiastically, throw out their old belief in favor of the new, more correct one. The wall of stubbornness crumbles in an instant, replaced by genuine respect for the new information. That's because an INTJ's ultimate loyalty isn't to their own beliefs, but to the truth. Their entire identity is built on being competent and correct. To knowingly hold on to a wrong idea just because it was their original idea would be a violation of their deepest principles. It would be illogical, and for an INTJ, being illogical is the ultimate failure. So their stubbornness isn't a barrier. It's a filter. It's a high-level security system for their brain. They aren't being close-minded. They're demanding that any new idea prove its worth before it gets in. Weak arguments, emotional appeals, or arguments from authority, believe it because I said so, will bounce right off. But a powerful, well-reasoned argument will be granted access, and the INTJ's worldview will be instantly updated. They are stubborn, but only until you prove them wrong. When you do, you haven't just won an argument. You've earned their respect. All these internal paradoxes inevitably shape how INTJ are seen by the outside world, often leading to a great deal of misunderstanding. First is the classic perception. The INTJ as mysterious, aloof, and intimidating. This comes directly from their introversion, their privacy, and their preference for deep conversation over small talk. At a party, an INTJ is likely the one in the corner, observing, analyzing group dynamics, or locked in a deep conversation with the one other person who wants to discuss quantum physics. Their lack of engagement with social pleasantries isn't snobbery, it's energy conservation. Small talk is mentally exhausting and feels fake to them. They'd rather say nothing than engage in what feels like pointless chatter. To others, this silence can look like arrogance or hostility. Their calm, analytical gaze, which is just their default mode of processing information, can be read as judgmental, making people feel nervous. This leads straight to the next big misunderstanding: the charge of arrogance. INTJ have incredibly high standards, first for themselves and then for others. They value competence and have little patience for inefficiency or lazy thinking. When they speak, They do it with a confidence born from having already torn their own ideas apart a dozen times. This directness is often mistaken for arrogance. When an INTJ points out a flaw in a plan, they aren't trying to make someone feel stupid. They're trying to fix an error in the system. But in a world that prioritizes social harmony over blunt truth, this can feel like a personal attack. These challenges also show up in their personal relationships. The traits that make them brilliant strategists can make them tricky partners. The biggest hurdle is often emotional expression. As we've covered, their feelings are deep but private. When their partner is upset, their problem-solving instinct kicks in. They'll ask questions, analyze the situation, and offer a list of logical steps to fix it. They are showing their love the only way they know how, by being useful. But often, their partner isn't looking for a solution. They're looking for a hug. They're looking for empathy and someone to say, "That sounds really hard. I'm here for you." The INTJ's fix-it approach, however well-intentioned, can feel invalidating. On top of that, their fierce independence can be a challenge. They need a lot of alone time to recharge and think. To a partner, this can feel like rejection. The INTJ isn't withdrawing from the relationship. They're withdrawing into themselves, a necessary act of self-preservation. Learning to communicate this need is one of the key skills an INTJ has to develop. Navigating the world requires the INTJ to learn to translate their internal logic into a language others can understand, and to accept that not every problem has a logical solution. If you've been watching this and feeling that sense of recognition, then you understand the INTJ experience. It can be a complex and often lonely path. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. If these contradictions resonate, share your own experiences. What's the biggest misunderstanding you face? Or if you know an INTJ, what's been the key to understanding them? Your insights help everyone get a clearer picture. And if you're fascinated by the architecture of the human mind and want to explore more personality types in this kind of depth, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. So what makes the INTJ so mysteriously complex? It's the constant tension between the powerful forces in their mind. They're complex because they are ambitious visionaries and intensely private monks. They are imaginative dreamers who see the patterns of the universe, and yet they are practical implementers who build the systems to make those dreams real. They are idealists who hold a blueprint for a perfect world, and sharp-eyed cynics who see every flaw in this one. They are seen as cold machines, yet they possess a hidden world of deep values, and they seem stubborn, yet they will pivot in an instant for a better argument. These aren't flaws in the system. These contradictions are the system. They are the checks and balances that give the INTJ their unique and formidable power. The privacy protects the vision. The cynicism fuels the idealism. The logic serves the values. The stubbornness filters for truth. To be an INTJ is to feel perpetually out of sync with a world that often values social harmony over objective truth. It's to carry the weight of a vision that few can see and feel the frustration of a reality that constantly falls short. The world may not always get the intricate machinery of your mind. It might mistake your silence for arrogance and your logic for coldness. But it's this very complexity that allows you to see what others miss and build what others can only imagine. Your mysterious nature isn't a bug. It's your operating system.